Welcome back to To Fluency, the podcast that will help you become fluent in English.
Get ready to unlock your English potential, one listening session at a time.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of To Fluency. I'm Clara, and I'm thrilled to be here with you all.
And I'm David, equally excited to dive into what I truly believe is the cornerstone of English fluency.
So, David, today's topic is something you feel very strongly about, isn't it? You've even gone as far as to say it's the only skill you need to become fluent. That's a bold statement.
It is Clara, and I stand by it. While speaking, reading, and writing are all important aspects of language learning, listening is the foundation upon which everything else is built. Think about it. How did you learn your first language? By listening.
That's true. As babies, we were just absorbing the sounds and patterns around us long before we could form our own words.
Exactly. And this natural process doesn't stop when you're learning a second language. In fact, I would argue that actively improving your listening skills is the most direct and efficient route to fluency, regardless of your current level.
That's fascinating. But I know many learners find listening really challenging, especially in the beginning. They get overwhelmed by the speed and the unfamiliar sounds. What would you say to someone who feels that way?
I completely understand that feeling. It can be frustrating when you can't pick out individual words or when native speakers seem to talk a mile a minute. But the key is to approach listening strategically and to understand that it's a skill that can be developed and improved, just like any other.
So, for our listeners out there, have you ever felt discouraged because you struggle to understand spoken English? Maybe you can follow along in a textbook, but when you hear a conversation, it feels like a different language altogether. We want you to know that you're not alone, and today we're going to give you practical strategies to overcome those challenges.
Let's really break down why I believe listening is the only skill you truly need for fluency. Firstly, comprehension precedes production. You need to understand language before you can effectively use it yourself. Think about learning new vocabulary. You're far more likely to remember a word if you've heard it used in context multiple times than if you've just memorized its definition from a list.
That makes sense. Hearing the word in a natural sentence helps you understand its nuances and how it fits into a conversation.
Precisely. Secondly, listening exposes you to correct pronunciation, intonation, and rhythm. You start to develop an ear for the natural flow of the language. You might not consciously understand every grammatical rule, but through consistent listening, you'll start to internalize how native speakers construct sentences and emphasize certain words.
It's like absorbing the music of the language, isn't it? You might not be able to explain the musical theory, but you can recognize a beautiful melody.
Exactly. And thirdly, listening improves your speaking skills indirectly. As you become better at understanding spoken English, you'll naturally start to pick up on common phrases, sentence structures, and even speaking habits. This passive absorption can significantly boost your confidence and accuracy when you do start speaking.
I've noticed that myself. Sometimes, after watching a lot of English language TV shows, I find myself using expressions that I didn't consciously try to learn. It just sort of seeped in.
That's the power of listening at work. It's like your brain is constantly collecting data, and eventually, it starts to make sense of the patterns. Fourthly, listening is crucial for effective communication. The goal of language learning isn't just to produce language, but to connect with others. And that connection begins with understanding what they're saying.
Absolutely. You can have perfect grammar and a wide vocabulary, but if you can't understand the person you're talking to, the conversation will quickly fall apart.
So, for our listeners, think about your own experiences. Has there been a time when you understood what someone was saying in English and it made you feel more confident and motivated to learn more? Or a time when you struggled to understand and it left you feeling frustrated?
So we understand why listening is so important, but how do we actually get better at it? You often talk about the difference between active and passive listening. Can you explain that?
Certainly. Passive listening is what most of us do naturally. It's like having the TV on in the background while you're doing chores or listening to music while you're commuting. You're hearing the sounds, but you're not actively focusing on understanding the meaning. While some exposure is better than none, passive listening alone isn't very effective for language learning.
It's more about creating familiarity with the sounds of English, right?
Exactly. It can help your ear get used to the rhythm and intonation, but it won't significantly improve your comprehension. Active listening, on the other hand, is a focused and intentional effort to understand what you're hearing. It involves paying close attention to the speaker, trying to identify key words and phrases, and actively trying to make sense of the message.
So, it's not just about hearing the words, but about engaging with them mentally.
Precisely. And there are many ways to practice active listening. For example, you could listen to a short audio clip and then try to summarize what you understood. Or you could listen to a conversation and try to answer specific questions about it.
I often recommend listening to podcasts or news reports and trying to pick out the main topic or the key arguments. Even if you don't understand every single word, you can often grasp the overall message.
That's a great strategy. Another technique is to listen repeatedly to the same piece of audio. The first time, just try to get a general idea. The second time, focus on specific words or phrases. The third time, try to follow along without looking at a transcript.
That repetition can be really helpful in training your ear to distinguish different sounds and to recognize words you might have missed the first time around. Have you ever had that experience, David, where you listened to something multiple times and suddenly understood a part you hadn't before?
Absolutely. It's like your brain is slowly piecing together a puzzle. Each listen helps you find a few more pieces until the whole picture starts to become clear. Now, let's get into some really practical techniques that our listeners can start using today to improve their active listening skills. One of my favorite techniques is listening with transcripts.
That can be really helpful, especially for beginners or when you're dealing with more complex topics.
Here's how I recommend doing it. First, listen to a short audio clip without looking at the transcript. Try to understand as much as you can. Then, listen again while reading the transcript. Pay attention to the words you missed and how they're pronounced. Finally, listen one more time without the transcript and see how much more you can understand.
That three-step process can make a huge difference. It helps you connect the sounds you're hearing with the written words. Another great technique is predicting and anticipating.
Yes, before you listen to something, try to predict what it might be about based on the title or any context you have. This helps to activate your existing knowledge and makes it easier for your brain to process the incoming information.
It's like giving your brain a heads up about what to expect. And while you're listening, try to anticipate what the speaker might say next. Even if you're wrong, it keeps you actively engaged. Another crucial element is focusing on the overall meaning, not every single word.
This is so important. Many learners get discouraged when they encounter a word they don't know. They get stuck on that one word and miss the rest of the message. Instead, try to focus on the key words and the overall context to get the main idea. You can often infer the meaning of unfamiliar words from the surrounding sentences.
It's like reading. You don't need to understand every single word to grasp the main point of a paragraph. The same applies to listening. And finally, listen to a variety of accents and speaking styles.
Absolutely. Don't just stick to one type of English. Expose yourself to different accents, British, American, Australian, etc., and different speaking speeds. This will make you a more versatile and confident listener.
For our listeners, which of these techniques sounds like something you could try this week? Maybe start with listening to a short clip with a transcript or try to predict the topic of a podcast episode before you start listening.
We've talked about techniques, but let's not forget the importance of interest and enjoyment in the listening process. You're much more likely to stay engaged and motivated if you're listening to something you actually find interesting.
That's so true. If you're forcing yourself to listen to boring lectures on topics you don't care about, it's going to feel like a chore, and you're less likely to absorb the information.
Think about your hobbies and interests. Are you interested in sports? Find English language podcasts or videos about your favorite teams. Do you love cooking? There are tons of English cooking channels on YouTube.
Or maybe you're into movies and TV shows. Watching them in English, even with subtitles at first, is a fantastic way to improve your listening skills while also enjoying your favorite entertainment.
The key is to find content that you would consume even if it wasn't in English. That way, you're learning almost passively without feeling like you're studying.
I remember when I first got really into learning Spanish, I started listening to Spanish language music. I didn't understand all the lyrics, but I loved the melodies and the rhythms. Over time, I started to pick out words and phrases, and it made the learning process so much more enjoyable.
Music is a great example. You can also follow English-speaking YouTubers who create content about your hobbies, or join online communities and listen to discussions in English.
And don't be afraid to start with content that is slightly below your current level. It's better to understand most of what you're hearing and build your confidence than to constantly struggle with material that is too difficult.
Exactly. As your listening skills improve, you can gradually challenge yourself with more complex content. But always prioritize finding something that keeps you engaged and motivated. What are some of your favorite English language topics or content creators, our listeners? Think about how you can incorporate them into your listening practice.
It's important to acknowledge that improving your listening skills isn't always a smooth and linear process. You might encounter challenges and hit plateaus along the way. What are some common challenges learners face with listening, David?
One of the biggest challenges is the speed of native speakers. It can feel like they're talking incredibly fast, and it's hard to distinguish individual words.
Absolutely. And sometimes they use a lot of slang or colloquial expressions that you might not find in textbooks.
That's another hurdle. Unfamiliar vocabulary and idiomatic expressions can definitely make listening comprehension difficult. And then there's the issue of different accents, as we mentioned earlier.
So, how can learners overcome these challenges and push through listening plateaus?
When it comes to speed, the key is to start with slower audio. There are many podcasts and YouTube channels specifically designed for English learners that use clear and slower speech. As your ear gets more accustomed to the sounds, you can gradually increase the speed. You can also use tools that allow you to slow down the playback speed of audio and video.
That can be really helpful in breaking down fast speech into more manageable chunks. For dealing with unfamiliar vocabulary and slang, context is your best friend. Try to guess the meaning of words based on the surrounding sentences. You can also keep a vocabulary journal and note down new words and phrases you encounter.
And don't be afraid to pause and rewind when you're listening to something. It's not a real-life conversation, so you have the luxury of taking your time to process what you're hearing. As for different accents, the best approach is exposure. 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 Actively seek out content from speakers with different accents to train your ear.
And remember that hitting a plateau is a normal part of the learning process. It doesn't mean you're not making progress. It just means your brain might need some time to consolidate what it's learned. Don't get discouraged. Keep practicing consistently and try different listening strategies to break through the plateau.
Sometimes, taking a break from intensive listening and focusing on other aspects of English learning, like speaking or reading, can also help. When you come back to listening, you might find that your comprehension has improved without you even realizing it. Have any of our listeners experienced a listening plateau? What did you do to overcome it? Share your tips in the comments. So, we've explored why listening is so crucial for English fluency and shared a variety of practical techniques to help you become a better listener.
Remember, becoming a fluent English speaker is a journey, and improving your listening skills is a fundamental step on that path. It's not just about understanding words, it's about connecting with people and the world around you.
We truly believe that by focusing on honing your listening abilities, you'll unlock significant progress in all other areas of your English learning. It's the foundation that supports your speaking, reading, and writing.
So, our call to action for you this week is to actively dedicate some time each day to focused listening practice. Choose one or two of the techniques we discussed today, whether it's listening with transcripts, predicting content, or focusing on overall meaning, and make it a consistent part of your routine.
And most importantly, find something you genuinely enjoy listening to. Whether it's podcasts about your hobbies, English language music, or engaging YouTube channels, make your listening practice something you look forward to.
We'd love to hear about your experiences. Let us know in the comments below which listening techniques you're going to try and what kind of content you're listening to. Your progress and your questions inspire us to create more helpful episodes.
Don't forget to subscribe to Way to Fluency for more tips and strategies to help you on your journey to English fluency. And if you found this episode valuable, please give it a thumbs up and share it with anyone who's learning English.
Thanks so much for tuning in this week. Keep listening, keep learning, and we'll catch you in the next episode.
Until next time, keep practicing and keep striving for fluency.